Welcome back. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has raised questions about the formation of the Gauteng crime prevention wardens. He told Parliament that Amapanyaza, as they are commonly known, have not been incorporated into the Police Act because they're not legally part of SAPS. Let's discuss this with the Gauteng Community Safety Portfolio Committee chairperson, Dr Bandile Masuku. Dr Masuku, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. So speaking to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, the KZN Provincial Commissioner spoke about how there was a meeting with the SAPS Board of Commissioners, and although there were noble intentions by the Gauteng Premier to form these wardens, he was saying that he was strongly against the creation of the crime prevention wardens, saying that they do not form under SAPS, and of course then the SAPS legal services were in agreement with this. But the department, or rather the province, has responded rather in saying that in 2023, Minister Nhlanhla had actually designated the crime prevention wardens as peace officers under the terms of the Section 334 of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977. Is that why that route was taken, because of that objection, not only by the KZN Commissioner, but also by the SAPS legal services?
Good evening and good evening to your viewers. I think there's always been an understanding that the Gauteng traffic wardens are not part of SAPS and they are not police officers. And they are part of what we call a force multiplier, which will strengthen the capacity of doing more community policing in the areas which are designated as TISH, which is a townships and informal settlements and hostels. So by nature, even in their formation, they've never been any intention or an understanding that they will be part of the South African Police Service, but they will be part of all the other levels of law enforcement agencies that we see on the street.
So this gives them the same legal status as that of Gauteng traffic officers. What do you think of the operational implications of labeling the Amapanyaza as an illegal entity, and how might this influence community safety initiatives in the province?
I think the most important aspect is just the issue of the status that they have, which is that they are peace officers, which give them some latitude and leeway to perform some of the the mandates that are actually expected from them, which will be the patrolling, increasing visibility, and also helping and assisting, in some of the operations of the South African Police Service. And at no way that the issue of the Gauteng traffic wardens will always become, they will replace police officers. They will remain where they are, and the mandate is quite clear, in terms of their function, and being given the status of peace officers is just to make sure that they are enabled to perform their duties within the legal framework, which is similar to what you will have with your private security officers and all the other reservists and not reservists, the other patrollers, which are part of the community police forums.
Do they in any way assist SAPS, even at a level like you're mentioning, that of reservists, or at a CPF level?
Yes, they're part of the force multiplier, in terms of strengthening community policing, and in the way that we understand their function is that they function under the supervision and directive and commandship of the South African Police Service. So in terms of their functioning, they won't work and they can't work autonomous outside the South African Police Service. So they are part of force multiplying effort that we see in the communities.
And are you seeing any move towards that force multiplying, the addition of the crime wardens in terms of their assistance? Are you getting feedback even from some of these entities, be it SAPS, be it the traffic officers, in terms of their presence helping and adding to some of the objectives that you aim to achieve?
I think the provincial commissioner has come out, in a number of interviews and in meetings where he had actually commended, and actually welcomed the establishment of the of this force. But of course, there are other academics who have went out to make some studies to assess the impact that they've made since their introduction in 2023. And the studies indicate that where they've been introduced in areas of high crime spots, they've actually made significant impact, since they've been introduced. So these are independent academic studies that have been done and which show that they have actually, yes, indeed, created a lot of impact where they've been introduced.
And do you think there'd be areas of improvement? Do you feel that there needs to be steps to be considered in order for either for the implementation to monitor, regulate, to address some of the activities that the Amapanyaza find themselves doing within the province?
So I think there's a lot that needs to happen. There's a lot that needs to happen in terms of their improvement, in terms of their capacity, and in terms of their general outlook. And one of the important aspects is the issue of their training, which will be diversified to include even intelligence information gathering, because we need them to be more effective to assist the police service. And also the concerns about their safety, which is something that we have raised. And it's an important thing that when the deployments are made and are done, they are not supposed to be exposed in high-risk situations. So their functioning, their presence also calls upon us as South Africans to actually revisit what we call community policing and see how, as Gauteng, can be able to be a model of community policing actually going forward, because we cannot fight crime only with the police being active. We require everyone, and this force multiplier called Amapanyaza, as it were, they actually help in that regard.
And any plans in terms of expanding the numbers of the wardens, because you find them in different aspects of the province, but I'm sure their impact could be felt even in other places as well. Are you looking to expand the actual numbers of the wardens on the ground?
The moment we had advised the department not to increase, but we know that the need and the agency on the ground is there. But we need to formalize and make sure that in the next year or so, this entity called the Gauteng Traffic Wardens are actually in a way, seamless and functioning at the capacity and at the expected levels in terms of their mandates that they are actually having.
And how have you found the responses from the communities themselves with regards to the wardens?
In many areas, they've welcomed them. Like I've said, that in areas where there's a high crime rate, since they've been introduced, they're deployed in those areas, particularly areas such as your malls, or your taxi ranks, and around hospitals, particularly in areas, such as stadiums. And this is where we have seen a drastic drop of criminal activity, because visibility on its own, we know, it's the biggest deterrence of crime. So their presence and patrolling in those areas, it actually has had a positive impact in those spaces.
On a broader scale, Dr. Masuku, what measures are in place to just ensure that community-based safety initiatives comply with national laws, and how these, very importantly, are communicated to community patrol groups?
An important aspect, and that's an important question that you are raising, because one of the key aspects is the issue of trust between the police and the communities. And one of the mandates that we have for community police forums and for crime, the Gauteng traffic wardens, is to bridge that gap, because we require the communities to be the most active and supportive in the fight and in the space of preventing crime. And it's one of the areas that we think it's an area that we need to work on as government, as the legislature, and also I think with the South African Police Service being involved, because they are the ones that carry the constitutional mandate to fight crime, prevent crime, and even police public order.
And of course, the role that community engagement plays, as well as the dialogue in addressing concerns about illegal operations, while also just maintaining that community trust and cooperation.
Indeed, because we don't want to see a lot of activities that involve vigilantism, and that's the reason that we want to strengthen this force multiplier called the Gauteng traffic wardens. We need to make sure that we formalize, the actual idea and vision of community policing, and that's the way that we can be able to continue to strengthen the trust between the communities and the police, and we need actually to do that. And they also play a role, if you imagine, in areas like schools, safety and school patrolling, which is quite crucial in many of the areas where schooling has been disrupted by criminal activity.
Would you encourage for this format to be replicated across other provinces?
I think at the moment the prospects of it being successful are there, and I think other provinces have got different issues on the ground, and I think one way or another, the issue is about how community policing should be actually strengthened, and how provinces or provincial governments can strengthen community policing. And I think this is one form of a model that we are seeing unfolding in Gauteng. And if it was, I think it's one model that can be replicated in other areas, but looking at the agencies that those provinces have.
All right, Dr. Masuku, thank you so much for your time this evening. That was Gauteng Community Safety Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Dr. Bandile Masuku.